Call the meeting to order. Karen, would you do a roll call, please?
Vanessa Arthur Westerville.
Here.
Lucas Stansberry.
Present.
Bill Houston.
Present.
Jeff Leslie. We have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Bill, would you do the invocation, please?
Sir. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day you've given us. Father, we pray that you be with the businesses that's conducted tonight. Father, we just pray for the city, its residents, and its employees. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could I have a motion for acceptance of the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, if there is no further discussion or changes, I move we accept the agenda as presented.
I second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we accept the consent agenda, A through E. There'd be no discussion or changes.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. At this time, we go to our, we actually, Okay, first off on, 5 o'clock, we actually, at the first time, we're gonna have our item A public hearing for resolution of intent regarding organized trash collection.
You have a forum, Mr. Mayor,
Do what?
public forum.
In the paper, it's published that we'll have the public hearing at 5.
Okay, that's fine. We just gotta make sure our agenda says differently, so you'll have to amend your agenda. You're gonna do A first, that's fine. Because our agenda's listed as having a public hearing before we go to regular business.
And public hearing,
I mean, public forum, excuse me, before.
the
public-
item A and then public hearing.
Yeah, so if you just, somebody move to switch those, I think you're fine.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we move the public forum to after the public hearing for resolution of intent regarding organized collection service.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
Okay, first up, we have on, public forum, we have Cindy Wentz.
But you,
We just changed
you're
it.
gonna have a hearing.
You
You're gonna
what?
have a
We're in the
hearing.
hearing first.
You're gonna have your hearing first,
Yes.
because you just did that, so go ahead and
Cindy
have,
wants
go ahead
And
and
they're
have
on
your
the
hearing.
public forum to talk on the
Right,
resolution
yeah.
for.
They want to
intent.
talk about the organized.
That's what they're here
collection
for.
service.
So you're gonna talk both at the public forum and at the hearing?
I think he's just moving Cindy from the public forum to the public hearing, since she wants to speak about the trash service.
Yes.
You wanna talk about trash service? Okay, so it's okay to move you to the public hearing, and we open the public hearing and you talk about it during that time? Why don't we try that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and open our public hearing, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I open the public hearing for the resolution for intent regarding organized trash collection. First up would be Cindy Wentz.
Well, I was here before in December, which I stated I was fairly against it. And I have kind of made a few notes on the whereas that you put on the resolution that I printed out off the website. And like one was like to ensure residents have trash service. It's more like demand. And the second, whereas, to reduce complaints about routine trash pickup. To me, residents have so many other concerns and complaints that they never come to the city council for, and you're suddenly picking up on the trash. And trash was not an issue until McClellan sold out. Things are kind of settled down. The service had been pretty bad. We have a new trash service, and I think they're doing quite well. And people have adjusted. Okay. And the next one, whereas, was about the alley deterioration. Well, trucks go in the alleys to empty the business dumpsters, and not all those are paved. And residents and other people carrying up and down the alleys also contribute to deterioration. And the city actually has been rather slack in maintaining alleys in the first place. Okay, number 4 was to add trash to utility bills for a small surcharge to go towards community services. What percentage of the fee is going to be the surcharge? And it's been stated that utilities will be disconnected if a person doesn't pay for trash service. Well, does that mean if they pay for their utilities and not the trash service, that you're still going to cut off their essentials for life, for, to sustain their lives? That's control. That's nothing. That's control. And then landlords, as we know, they have several accounts, and a lot of times houses are empty and they still keep their utilities on. So will they be required to pay trash service when the house is vacant? And then if you do add a stipulation, you expect the landlords to inform the city about the rental vacancy? And then do landlords know how long a house is going to be vacant? So that's going to cause a billing headache. And in the future, we will probably have a water rate increase, which is something we need. This city needs their water fixed. It will mean more money out of residents' pockets. Many residents don't have a lot of money to manage. So adding trash service will only make it harder on them. And my question is what community services do you foresee? It was at the meeting in December, I think Steve or somebody said maybe another citywide trash pickup day or something like that, or, but it would be nice. But years ago, there used to be 2 a year. Due to cost, cut it down to 1. I think most residents are very grateful and satisfied with just 1. They're getting by without having 2 a year. But I don't know, is there any other community services that you have thought about using this money for?
What money's that?
That you make, the surcharge off of the collection.
Basically, that would be administrative cost for us, taking care of the collection of the fees, because we end up having to pay the provider of the service.
Right, but in the ordinance, Bill, it says community services.
That's not in the ordinance, it's just.
Well, the resolution.
Yeah, the resolution is just saying that we intend to look into it and ask all of those questions and have planning meetings, so we don't have answers to any of it, because we haven't had planning meetings yet. The state statute says we have to pass this resolution stating that, hey, we're looking at maybe doing this, it's just an idea, that we're gonna have meetings with local providers and ask all the questions that you're asking, so we don't have any answers to any of that.
Or residents as well.
Yeah, or whoever wants to come to the meetings.
Thank you. And contracting a trash service, making it mandate for the whole city is going to affect other trash collecting companies. It's not really fair to them. I mean, there's GFL, Hartman, Shorts that all service us. Gotta cut somebody out. It'll cut somebody out. And then what about special pickups? Resident is going to have to call the hauler of their choice, and if they don't come over here regularly, are they going to charge them more for a special pickup? Or will the contracting trash service agree to do a special pickup and then probably charge the resident himself, send a bill to them? That's another thing to take into consideration. And not all residents need trash service. Many of them don't have that much trash to pay for each month. They have other means of disposing of their trash. And without having it accumulate on their property or having trashy yards. Okay. Number 6 is adoption of the resolution. I strongly believe you should not adopt this. I feel that the time and the effort that you put into this resolution already could have been focused on a more needed, important issue. And what other advantages do you see? What advantages do you see to having a mandated trash service?
Well, you have to have, there's a lot of people that don't have it, and we have a lot of instance, you talk to some of the landlords where they have outbuildings, people use that and fill them up with trash, and stuff, rather than having it hauled off. It just alleviates taking care of that problem there. It takes care of that problem, and there is a lot more than what people realize.
Oh, I'm sure there is, but in your city ordinance already, that should be covered.
It should be, but
And you don't enforce it.
no, what I'm saying, if it's in a building and you can't see it, we can't go in that building and check it. The only time we can do any enforcement on it is if we're aware of it.
Well, I know some of them are probably landowners, and but some people are just trash collectors. What can I say? Regardless, they are. So, have you considered disadvantages?
Well, what we're doing right now, this resolution, we have to pass it to just look at the thing, look at the idea of doing it. It's not saying that we're going to do it. We're going to have public meetings where people can put their input into it. And basically, this resolution is something that has to be passed before you can go anywhere forward.
So, can you not pass it and then just drop the whole thing?
If you do the resolution, there's a waiting period where you do the planning meeting, and then you have to present the plan to the council, and then if they do pass it, there's another waiting period before you pass an ordinance. So it wouldn't come into effect until they pass an ordinance. So yes, they could pass this, we could look into it, and then the council could decide later after the planning meetings, hey, this doesn't look like it's a good fit for Girard, and just drop it or not pass an ordinance.
So, like today, definitely you're going to be passing the intent.
I don't know.
Well, it
because I
has to
don't
be
vote.
voted on, but right now by having you here, like inviting you in, this is where we're trying to get your input. So we want to hear what your questions are, which I've been taking notes on what the questions are you're asking, what side of everything, so that we can go and tell the trash services around here, this is where we have questions. What would you do about this? How would you go about that? And then when they fill in those blanks for us, we have another meeting and say, these are the answers that we have. Does it sound good to you? Do you have any more questions? So that way everybody can get all of the information. We can fill in all the blanks, and then we put together this plan, write it all out. And if we think it's a good fit for Girard, and we think that it crosses all the T's, dots all the I's, then we either vote yes or we vote no. But right now, if we don't pass this, we can't even get a glimmer of what this could be. So if we say it's done right now, that means nobody asks any more questions, no one's going any further, nothing. So that means it's just dropped.
That would suit
That
me
would
fine
suit
too.
me fine.
That would suit me fine too.
Now, let me ask you a question. We have some people in town that don't have trash service. And so what they do is they regularly take their trash to somebody's dumpster or somebody's container, which is a theft. That's theft of services. So how do you propose we should deal with that? It's hard to police that. It's done at night. It's done when the police can't see it.
Oh, I know, I've
What
seen
are your
it.
thoughts about that?
I've seen it myself. And
It's also.
And
hard to
it's
push.
not
It's
people
also-
that live in town that do it. It's people that live out of town.
But it's just as
People
hard to
in
police
town
people
that
throwing
suffer.
trash all over town.
Yeah.
They have service.
So,
Just by passing today, we're saying, let's get more information. That's all I'm saying. It's instead of just shutting down and saying, just forget about it, we're saying, give us time to get the information and fill in the
Well,
blanks.
you know, Girard is a small community.
I do know that, yes.
Right. And I don't know, how many small communities have mandated trash service? I suppose they do. But it's an added cost to residents, whose incomes don't come up a whole lot. It's an added headache actually for the city. You're gonna have to upgrade your billing system to configure all this in. And if you do add a stipulation for vacant homes for landlords, what are you gonna do? I mean, somebody's got to keep track of whose houses are empty. What if a house is empty for a week and it's reported empty? I mean, and it's rented out. Landlords are gonna have to keep calling back and forth.
Someone's gonna turn on the services of that home and put them into their name when they go into that residence.
Most of the landlords, I understand, turn on the electricity in their name soon after the person has left, so they can do repairs. Because it's good for them to have electricity in their repairs.
And
Matter of fact,
water.
I think they sometimes have it where the electricity will revert to their name after it's been disconnected.
No, we eliminated that.
Oh, you eliminated that?
Yes, we did.
That kind of, I mean,
But, a lot of them leave utilities on anyway.
You know, our landlord is a repeat offender. Why are they not charged a fine? It shouldn't be on us little guys to add one more bill to our thing we can't afford.
but it's not,
We should be able
the
to pick our
landlords aren't the one
trash service.
responsible for the trash being put in their property. It's the resident living in that. And there's not necessarily a stipulation in their contract that says if the landlord gets a call smelling trash, they can just walk into your garage or your home. There isn't that in there. There are laws. Landlords can't just show up and go, hey, your neighbor smelled trash. It's not allowed. I mean,
But they are allowed to give a notice that they are going to do an inspection.
that's correct. They are.
And we're probably also dealing with mostly one landlord with this massive problem across town.
How is mandating a trash service gonna change that? I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either.
My hopes, which I can't guarantee it because I'm not every individual renting, but my hopes would be, since we're providing that service and it's coming every Wednesday or every Thursday, that they'll make their trash get to that curb to do that. Because why would they pay for a service that they're completely not gonna use when they have to pay for it?
That's why I'm here.
So, giving that thought, they're gonna go ahead and put their trash out there rather than throw it in their garage because they're already doing it. Most of the time people go, I'm gonna throw it in my garage and then once a month, I'm gonna go take it to the dump. And then what do? Oh, I missed the dump day. Okay, so then they let it build up for another month. So then there's 2 months worth of trash in there. And that's if they remember it that month, so you can't tell.
And if they have a mental illness, they're gonna be like a hoarder and they're never gonna get rid of their trash. It's just gonna stay in their house or stay in their garage.
Even with the
I think
service.
that will still happen.
So
How are you
the
gonna?
lady for the sake of.
And I think what we're doing now, we're getting off track too, because this isn't for deciding ifs and whats and everything else. That will be at a public hearing where you people can come in and talk to us and stuff. Right now, it's just basically on this resolution.
And if the trash service don't pick up the trash and you're paying for it and you get credit for that week, it don't get picked up.
Well, that's between the trash
No,
service and
if
stuff.
you guys enforce it for.
Well, we would,
bill,
if that happens,
do we
we
get
can.
credit for the week? they
It
don't
would be
pick
in
up?
it would be in that
Well,
document.
we're gonna have to draft an ordinance and deal with that. That's why we need public input.
Because my neighbor ain't been picked up in 2 weeks and I know he pays his bill for GFL and they just drive right on by.
Yeah, so
What
that's
about-
something,
The trash is still sitting at the end of the
that's something we
driveway.
have to deal
But
with.
at least right now,
Say
he
their
has a
name or
choice
something when you
of
speak.
calling another
But I
trash
know
company.
if we don't get picked up, do we get credit? Okay.
You
That
don't
would
get
have to be
credit.
You?
No, you
You see
won't.
that
The regular
happen?
tax
Discussed and put
Be
it.
nice,
But
so
he
wouldn't
still
it
has the choice right now.
Okay, what we need to do is each person come up and talk and identify themselves rather than everybody getting involved. That way it doesn't get as congested with your comments and stuff. We can take the notes on what your issues are. And this is something that it's in preliminary, everything's in preliminary basis right now. We don't know what we're gonna do. We wanna have input from the public. We wanna have input on everybody. So we know if we do something like this, we've got something that is pretty well arranged by the people. And we're not here to.
What about one thing?
We're not here to decide whether it's warranted or it's not. We're here to decide. We're here to hear the issues, and not to sit here and debate it, because that's
So in
not.
other
what
words,
this-
you want no input.
No, we want input on it. We want your ideas on why you think we shouldn't have it. We're gonna note this, and we're gonna take this into consideration, and then
Well,
when we
back
have
to
a public hearing.
my other
we-
question, if you don't adopt a
You know what?
resolution, can't you just drop it?
We can.
Well, we need to decide
vote on
whether this is a majority of the people that don't want it or do want it. And that's what we're doing. When we have a public hearing, there's probably a lot more people. There's probably gonna be two sides of the issue.
Well, we were hoping there'd be more here.
Do what?
I said, we were hoping there'd be more here,
Well,
but you know how that is. People
Well,
do work.
5 o'clock is a little early for people to get in the park, so
It
I'm
is.
sure there's a ton more people. But
So,
are you
ma'am,
done?
if you're gonna speak, let's
I know, that's
let
what I'm
somebody
asking.
else.
Okay, all right.
If they're gonna speak, it looks like you got more people than to speak, and our clerk's trying to keep track of it, so
We gotta go
let's
down the
let's
line
try
of
the
people
order,
that signed
okay?
in.
Let people speak.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I get up? I
Let's
have.
go down the line.
Oh, okay.
Ma'am, sorry. You gotta state your name so she can take it down, please.
My name is Tammy Patton. I just thought of a couple of questions. While we're sitting here and this thing looks like to me that it's going to be approved to start the process of to look into it. Some things that I, as a resident, and I think all of us would like to know is, where did this idea come from? Were you approached? It seems like, it could be wrong on my memory, but it seems like this all came about after everybody got the bombshell that McClellan's sold their business. So do we as the residents get to know how this came about? And we would like maybe some surveys to come out. So we actually have a say in whether or not we want to lose our ability to force competition. You know, when we're not treated right by one or whatever, things get tight, because I can tell you money is tight for me on a daily basis. Things get tight, we start looking, where can we cut costs? Can we go to somebody who charges less for their trash? I mean, we do that every day, try to make our ends meet.
And Tammy, that's something that we were considering too. And I personally, I know I have 5 kids. I get money's tight all the time. We were trying to do this as like, get the large group of people so that our rate could be the lowest it could be. So we're guaranteeing this trash company this many homes to pick up each month or this every week. And by doing that, we're saying, you know, you place this bid, you give us the lowest bid. So out of these 3 companies, this one gives us the lowest bid. They'll be under this contract. If they break that contract, then it's null and void. But if they give us that lowest bid, we can give you guys the lowest trash rate by giving everybody in town the lowest trash rate. So it might even be cheaper than Pittsburgh or cheaper than other areas because we're guaranteeing this location for that trash company for X number of years or X number of months. So what we were trying to do was bring the cost down for all residents by giving them a guarantee, giving that company a guarantee. And then at the same time, we were only having that trash service do those trucks. You know what I mean? So instead of this company coming in this day and running this trucks in this area, then the next day another group of trucks is running that same area. And then the third company coming in running that same area. That week, you have one truck doing that whole area, saving our roads 2 more per week, and then giving us the lowest rate possible. That's kind of why it came about. all the COVID, everybody's struggling, and economic inflation just out the roof. So we were trying to get the lowest rate for the customers by guaranteeing the company would have so many customers, and then they had to bid on it. So whoever had that lowest bid would get our residents. And then in that contract, it would have all the obligations they had. And if they didn't pick up trash and how many times, this might occur, then we no longer have a contract with that service. So as a city, we can hold them accountable better than each individual resident called, because they're like, oh, one guy called me and it didn't matter. Oh, the city of Girard called me, and that's a lot of pickups. So if we make them mad, they're going to be upset with us, and they might pull this service of 3,500, people. So by that, we have a little more pull than just saying, I'm one family and you didn't pick up my trash. So we're trying to make it better for everybody in town and keep the rate as low as possible.
I know there's always pros and cons to everything, but I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure there's a lot of people in town that just really do not want to see our option to choose, our right to choose, taken away. Because then if it becomes unforeseen prices go up, becomes a headache for the city, more time has to be put in, you have to charge more, and then everybody's rates go up. It just looks like on the surface a bad idea. So we just want to make sure that it's a two-way street, that we are kept in the know about every aspect, because it's our town. We're the ones paying the bills. Anyway, that's all I have.
I also want to say with having a contract like that would lock in a rate. So that company would be locked in for that amount of time. So if they wanted to go every January and say, hey, cost of gas went up, we want to add $2 every month to the bill, they're locked into this contract. So they can't, if we say it's 3 years long, they can't go and negotiate that every year. It's 3 years. So they're not going to raise that $2 a month for 3 years.
Lance, okay, we, like I said, we're not here to debate what we're gonna do in a contract or anything. We just want to hear people's concerns so we can address them, and then when we have a public hearing, we've got more input on it. I think probably what we need to do is we'll take care of these people that are on, wrote their name down. Kyle Thomas, you want to get up and speak?
I'm Kyle Thomas, as he said. I live 2 blocks down the street here. Nice house, been renovating, still renovating it. Probably one of the nicer ones on the street. I do not have trash service. I either take it to the free dump day, or I'm sorry, I don't know who this guy is, but I dump it in another dumpster at my work, which is legal for all employees that work there.
Okay.
So you will drive by my house. I have a clean yard. It's always mowed. It's always weeded. The leaves are always raked. There's never a single piece of trash in my yard, ever. And I don't have trash service. So if this goes about, now I'm going to be forced to pay $350 a year for trash service. And I'll tell you what, I haul 1 bag of trash. I live alone. I have no kids. I'm a clean person. I haul 1 bag of trash to the dumpster a month. 1 bag. So that's $360 a year for 12 bags of trash. That is absolutely ridiculous. And I won't pay it. If this comes about, they can turn my utilities off. I will sell my house and get out of this town. This is unacceptable, and I will not stand for it. I have a right to choose. Now, if my yard's trash, I understand. But my yard's not trash. So don't force rules that everybody else screwed this town up. Don't force the rules on people that didn't screw this town up. And like she was saying about, oh, we can get a better rate. We can give you a better rate. No, you can force a better rate down our throat. Make us pay it, or we're going to disconnect your utilities. I believe that's wrong and unacceptable. I actually have pictures in my phone of city officials that may or may not be in this room that have trash service, that it's scattered down a block street. And there's pictures of that trash in my phone with that person's name on it. So it can be proven that whether or not you have trash service, it's going to be all over town. So I'm completely against it. And a lot of people are. A lot of people may not have shown up, but I'm here for them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next is, Lacey Clark.
Lacey,
Lacey Clark.
Lacey Clark.
thank you.
I live here in town. I've been here not quite 6 years. I've had trash service since I've been here. Pretty much everybody around me has trash service. The problem I have trash in my yard all the time. It's not mine. It's everybody else's that has their barrels, that pays for service every month and refuses to put it in the barrels correctly. So why should people who aren't paying for those services have to be forced to pay for it if it's people that do have the service already? And they're just letting their trash fly everywhere. They're not picking it up. They're not going to neighbors and picking it up. I pick up in my yard. I have 2 lots. I pick up in my yard, in my ditches. My neighbors are elderly. I pick up in their yards. I mean, it's everywhere. And then you have landlords that come in and get their trash everywhere. You're talking about landlords and their cleanup. They need to be responsible for the people that are fixing up their homes as well. And they're not. Because I deal with that almost all the time. The landlords in and out with their people and the people in and out with their trash everywhere. That should be a landlord issue and they should take care of that. Not, that should be in their contracts. That should be in their deposits. That's part of the cleanup for the deposit. That's not something that I think is okay at all. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Okay, who wants to speak next? Go ahead, state your name.
Matt Abella. I live in Girard. It seems like you guys are pretty bent on passing this resolution. And you say it's just a first step, but there's a lot of people who've spoken out against it. So I think that you're going to do is you're just going to pass this and really don't care what we think. That's just kind of my opinion. And I do vote. And I will remember.
It's not that we're not listening to you, but I know there's a lot of you here right now speaking, whether it's for it, against it, or whatever. But the thing about it, there's other people that possibly will speak for it too, one way or the other. We're just trying to gather information at this point to see if it's a good fit. If it's not, it won't happen.
Well, I hope it doesn't happen.
Is there anybody else needs to speak?
Yeah, well, my name's John Hartman, owner of H&H Sanitation. Come in here today, thought it was a different style meeting, but I'm gonna go ahead and speak as she said. It's hoping that people take their trash to the road. I pick up every week. I'm a driver of the truck. Where I was over there for that truck. No, I've got 40-some people I can tell you that does not take no trash to the road. My guys will go and get it every week. And with adopting the lowest cost, that means you cut out us guys because Shorts and GFL owns that landfill. Shorts has a cheaper rate than we do. So you cut us out automatically for that low cost. And I know how that works. Mulberry was on that. Now I'm in Mulberry because the low rate, $9 a person, it didn't pan out so good. I can tell you that right now. That's why I'm back over there. Liberal, Lamar, they're all on that. Minden's giving it up. It's through the fact some people can't afford it and there's other people that can. But the people that cut, you guys basically cutthroat us, which we're the little dogs. We're the underdogs. We come in, we don't have the money that they have. We don't get the deals at the landfill. I have to take my trash to Bourbon County because I can't afford to dump here. It's $98 a ton. I can't run my trucks up there for $98 a ton. Then if everyone in here that has H&H Sanitation, tell you what, 24, 25, let's get up there with Shorts, 24. We're at $21.50 right now for the lowest rate, other than McClellan, which we'll see how that does. But you guys adopting all this, you cut us out automatically. That's why I'm here, because I know that in the end, I'll lose Girard. I was born in this freaking town, and I want to stand for myself. My grandfather was here his whole life. I may not live here, but I just moved because the landlord passed away. I had to go buy my own piece of property. So I couldn't settle here, but I was here for a long time. And then this all comes into effect. McClellan sold, he was local. I'm local, I was born here. But it still gives opportunity for Shorts Trash Service, GFL, we'll see, Republic, all the opportunity to come cut us up and if it would have been McClellan, they would have been able to cut them out too. I'm just saying, I stand for my town. I was born right here in Girard Hospital. I've lived here off and on most of my life. I supply the trash service. I keep it as low as I can. And for the people that taking it to the road, it don't always happen. I drive down Summit Street here and there's 7 houses in a row I pick up right by the school. My guy walks to the door every day to get that trash. They don't put it out. So you can say what you want. Oh, they'll put it. They don't put it out even when they pay me. So I mean, adopt when they pay you guys, they're still not going to put it out. It is. I mean, you can't force somebody to do something if they don't want to do it. They're not going to do it.
Well, they can.
Well, they try. It don't work that way.
Thank
That's
you.
all I got to say.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
James Goins, resident and business owner. And I kind of thought this was gonna go a little differently myself too. I didn't plan on getting up here and speaking, but a couple things that were touched on. Everybody is gonna be required to have trash service or they lose their utilities. What about like businesses? I can't speak for other businesses, but our business model, and we bring thousands of dollars into the local community here with our company. We run 5 different businesses out of our office on the square. We produce so little trash, even with our small manufacturing operation, because we pride ourselves on our efficiency. We don't produce a lot of trash. It has become more economical for us to take a bag every couple of days home, and now we have H&H, and we just stick it in with that. And so that would cause us even more cost unfairly, not just us. I can only speak for us and our business. However, there are other businesses, even on the square, they're not open every day, or they're not businesses that produce a lot of trash, if any. So they would have to be forced to have an added cost as well. And some of those businesses are hobby businesses. They can't afford that. So that might push them out completely, even though it may seem like a small cost. And I mean, as far as the trash around town and people's yards, a lot of times that trash does not belong to the yard that it ends up in. We've got winds, we've got stray animal problems that tear people's trash up. You've got older poly carts that the rubber strap isn't there anymore, or different locking mechanisms on those things. Some of them are getting old. I know we've never had a problem with McClellan, and then GFL took over, and all of a sudden our trash stopped getting picked up, and we went with H&H. Big picture is, and I know this is just the looking at phase, one of the biggest problems that we have in our federal government, let alone our local, is we want to pass blanket laws and ordinances to cover more complex issues, and it ends up hurting more people than it helps. I mean, look at Obamacare. That was a disaster for millions of families. Not to get all political that direction, but I mean, this is one of those things that has the potential not just to take away the freedom of the citizens that you guys are supposed to be taking care of, taking away their ability and their right to choose who they go to for these services. But it could go bad so fast. And what happens if you pass this ordinance and now you've got rising costs that the city now can't cover? You've got the trash service that all of a sudden they go belly up because fuel skyrockets. Say GFL doesn't get their way. Well, as Mr. Hartman mentioned, they own the landfill. I mean, there are a lot of things that I would hope that you guys would look at and consider before you would actually make a decision on this. And I was the one that said a little louder than I intended to earlier. It seems like this situation is something that is possibly being pushed, that it has the potential to hurt the many just for the sake of the few. Now, it was mentioned about property owners, landlords particularly, and I won't name any names. One of the businesses that we operate is an investment company that we purchase properties, and then we lease to own these properties. We try to be careful about who we lease to own these properties, but we like to think we were smart about it. We have built into our contracts what to do if, say, for example, if we purchase a piece of property here in Girard, we get a letter from you guys 3 times in a calendar year, they default on their contract. That's just how we have our contracts set up. Now, we do a little bit different business than just renting, but because we do lease to own. But they have to take care of the properties, and if we find out otherwise, in 3 times in a calendar year, they're in default. And landlords, I've been a landlord before. I made sure it was in my contracts that similar stuff. And if they leave and leave an outbuilding full of garbage, I mean, that is what the security deposit is for. Or supposed to be for. It's supposed to cover those things. That's all I got. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
State your name.
Jessica Phillips. I think I need to speak on behalf of people in this town that have disabilities and also people that are faced with illnesses right now. I am a 2-income household, and my husband has a illness right now. We only have a bag of trash every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We are paying that bill. I should not have that forced on my income. I can take my trash elsewhere. I have other places I can take my trash. I don't need it on my bill. And to me, that is extremely unfair to put it on my utilities. I have enough problem paying. And then you guys cut my utilities because I can't keep up my trash. That's not fair. And I think I speak for a lot of handicapped people, a lot of disabled people, and a lot of people with illnesses. And I think that City of Girard really needs to think hard about this because it's not affecting certain people. And I pray that nobody ever has an illness or sickness or something else. They have to worry about their trash being on their bill and getting their utilities cut because they can't make their trash bill. We have freedoms in this country to find cheaper services. And that is what I have done, is tried to find as cheap services as I can to keep things running. I am not the only one in this town with this issue. There are a lot of us that are just fighting to keep things running on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
You want me to go again?
We already had your
If you
turn.
have something to do, go.
I just want to remind each and every one of you that you guys are citizens too. You won't always be sitting up there.
That's right. I understand that, but like I said, we haven't made any decisions one way or the other.
I know.
We're trying to persuade your decisions.
I know you are.
As is your right.
Okay, if there's no further comment on the public hearing on the resolution of intent, we'll close it at this time. And we've got on the public forum, we've got, we'll move on to public forum now. We've got Randy Bennett.
I'm not here to talk about the trash service. Wow. When I was here a while back, y'all were talking about opening up a restaurant out there at the golf course. And I got on the city's website. I was just wanting to see what kind of information that there was published on the golf course and the restaurant. And I don't mind saying that sometimes the website is very hard to navigate through.
Yeah.
but I didn't really find anything. And I just had a couple of questions about y'all opening up a restaurant out there at the golf course. And I guess the number one thing is if you're going to open up a restaurant, there ought to be some kind of a budget or a business plan on how you're going to run that restaurant and how you got, your food services coming in and what have you. So, and I couldn't find anything about a cafe restaurant or a budget for the restaurant. The second item I had is a simple question: is how will the employees be paid? Will they be paid by the golf fees? And do you think you'll recoup enough golf fees to pay for the extra employees running the restaurant? And then the third item is, have you considered the local impact on Girard restaurants? If you open this up and start getting people in the town going out there instead of going to East Side or the coffee house or some of the other local restaurants. Like I said, I could not find a lot of information on it on the website. So my question is, do you have such a budget and can you justify
Well,
that out there?
First off, Randy, we don't have, the only thing we have out there right now is just something for the golfers. They've got hamburgers, maybe hot dogs, easy to fix stuff. It's not really a full-blown restaurant or anything. And if there was a restaurant to go in out there, it would probably be like it was before with a private individual coming in there.
Yeah, I remember back when there was a private individual running.
But right now, I
full-blown
don't
restaurant.
have any knowledge of us wanting to put a restaurant in there at this point.
We
maybe something was talked about it, maybe it was misunderstood or whatever, but I don't think we're going to, at any point to where we're going to put a restaurant in out there.
Okay, well,
It'll just basically be for the convenience of the golfers, light stuff.
Snack bar type stuff.
Sandwiches.
snack bar type.
Yeah, snack bar.
Yeah.
Okay,
Which
We
we
have
had
this-
last year, and
Yeah.
it's a repetition of what we've done.
okay.
If you want to talk to them.
And it's also in the budget that is published, and once we started serving food there last year, the revenue increased by about $40,000.
It's been two seasons actually
Yeah.
that we've done it, and each season we've increased it by 40,000. And it's helping us to take less from the electric funds into the golf course. We're actually trying to grow that golf course to be a little more self-sustaining. That's what the purpose of it is.
And that's enough money to cover additional
That
employees out
That
there.
40,000 is over the top of the expenses of running that clubhouse.
But that still includes
Okay.
the transfer from the electric
It is.
department, but we've been able to reduce that transfer the
Correct.
last 2 years. 3 years of council's budget.
Correct.
Okay, well, that's all I've got. I was just asking about it and,
Okay.
Thank you.
and I'll
Thank you.
still try to navigate the website still.
We're working
They
on
should-
that,
they
by the
should be
way.
getting
It's being
We're doing a
updated.
redesign. We're doing a redesign.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, going on to regular business. Item A. Item A, we've already done the public hearing for the resolution. We'll go on. Item B is consider meeting with Bone Creek Executive Board.
This is regarding the new water treatment facility, and Steve, who represents the city of Girard on their board, has had some very preliminary discussions with them about adding on to our current project. And we've already kind of talked about what that would involve. It would involve increasing the size of the water treatment facility. And of course, they would, pay for the increase in size, and that we would sell water and be each other's redundancies. What I'm asking is, Steve and I, and maybe the mayor and whoever, I don't know if you guys want to have a full-blown meeting or if you would like for us to have a preliminary meeting
So
with
if
the
you have,
executive
if you have a
board.
full-blown meeting, you have to meet the
Yeah,
open
we
meeting
know.
rules. You can't be in executive session with their panel because only executive session with our group. So you're aware of that.
Yes.
Okay.
So if it's just Nikki and I and Steve B for the first initial meeting, it wouldn't have to, we wouldn't have to.
And that's fine.
We could schedule it at our leisure, report back, they could report back to their board, and then maybe we could have a little bit more information go on before we
That's
get the
fine.
two
That
big
doesn't
groups
violate anything,
together.
so that's good.
That was kind of my thought.
I think if they have their attorney, we should go.
No, Rick's
I
not gonna be
don't
there.
think they-
Okay, then that's
He's not
good.
gonna be there.
I'm just
I don't
saying.
think they intend on having their attorney.
He's come as he's paid and they don't pay him for stuff like this. So-
Yeah.
It's not at this stage.
That's fine.
It's not. It's literally the executive board from Bone Creek has asked to meet with, some representatives from the city of Girard to start to navigate these waters and see if it's.
And I'll worry about their open meeting issues. We're just gonna deal with ours, whatever they have.
I understand that, and there was a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment, but I don't ever like to go to gunfight, you only carry a knife.
I understand that. Myself,
I guess
I doubt
what
Rick's
would
gonna
really be helpful for me would be to know if any of you guys would like to attend that preliminary meeting, or if you're comfortable with Nikki and myself and Steve, or if maybe one other of you guys want to come, or what your thoughts are.
As long as we don't have a meeting and after we don't have a serial meeting, we report in
Yeah.
open meeting what you found.
We would
We're good.
report back to you guys at a council
Okay,
meeting.
that's good.
What do you recommend for as far as COMA that we not have more than X number of council members?
So you can't have, so
That's-
you can have a meeting in a coffee shop
Right.
by one of you, and then you call that
Yeah,
him,
right.
and he calls in. So you just gotta be careful we don't violate any attorney general rules, and I think we're good on that. As far as the number, you could have 2 council members. But that's it.
So you could have the mayor and one.
Yeah.
Could we do a workshop to go around that? That way it's not officially a meeting.
Well, that's a meeting.
That
That's
would
a
still
meeting.
be a public.
If you have a workshop,
And
that's a
that's
meeting.
fine,
If
I'm
you
just
gather
saying
together,
that-
that's a meeting. Whether you
guess-
call it a workshop or not, it's a meeting.
Yeah.
And that's fine if you wanna have a meeting, it's just public.
And they're not wanting to meet with their whole board yet. They were just wanting to meet with a few, have a preliminary discussion before we presented it to their board and our board, I guess.
So-
I don't see any problem with that, and unless anyone else objects, why not, just exactly what they suggested.
The 3 of them.
Steve, Johanna,
And
Mr. Mayor,
Lucas, if you want to
bring
attend,
back with
I can let you
anything.
know. when
There's
we
no
go.
decisions to be made with that.
No,
Just
we can't
checking
make, no.
out. Just different
It's
permutations.
just information gathering, whatever it be.
I'm
And
100%
then
for it.
we report back to this council, of course, and they could, report back to their own full board, and then you could move forward.
Make it happen.
Okay.
Do we need, do we need to do anything with the resolution of intent?
If they want to make a motion to
As I
pass it.
say,
then
nobody
otherwise-
talked about it, we kinda had the discussion and then we moved
But now
on. so
everybody's left, so that's
I
not
didn't know.
very good either.
I didn't see it on.
It's on,
Item A, correct. Item A,
Mine
listed
pulled
under the regular business agenda.
do what?
As you're talking about item A, listed under regular business agenda. You know, I was, as I explained to the clerk late, because of school conflict. Could we, I guess we're actually on beyond that, so what's the appropriate thing to do? Do we
Well-
actually table it till next meeting, or do we?
What are
what's the appropriate
what are our
thing
timeframes, Johanna, if we table it to the next meeting?
I believe you have to publish it again.
I think you would, you'd have to publish it probably.
to do?
So the question is,
I don't know why I can see.
I don't have it either.
yeah, I don't see it on mine either.
Yeah, the resolution's not on mine.
resolution, yeah.
It's not on
Is it
ours.
pinned? I have it pulled up on mine.
I don't see it.
Hold on, there it is.
So, all right, so just point of order then. If we table it to a decision on the resolution until next meeting,
We got,
Put
we
it
got,
as
we got to republish, and I think you have to publish 2 or 3 consecutive times,
Just 10 days prior, right?
10 days. So you need, it would, yeah, you could do it the next meeting, you just have to publish again.
So you want to have another public meeting?
You'd have to.
Yeah, we'd have to have another public hearing. We either have to vote on it tonight or publish it and start over, which is fine, I don't, whatever, or not pass it at all. That's-
Or not take it up, yeah.
Can you print that so we can read it? Or drop it in there?
Yes, maybe I can do that, so I'll do that.
Do that, and we can read it really
I
quick.
saw the agenda and looked forward to it. And I didn't see it.
It's not on
Yeah, I've got it pulled up online, I don't know.
there. It's not in there. We're not seeing it.
Sorry about that.
I thought I was just messing up because I couldn't connect to the computer.
I'd like to anything about moving on that.
Look under January 18th, regular,
I did not do that. Go back.
because we had it on one time prior, remember, and then I had to edit it because we scheduled the public hearing on a holiday.
Under regular and
Yes, January 18th.
But is this the
Can you see
resolution
it?
that they would be passing, the one from January 18th? Or is
Yeah,
it?
because it says past the 27th day of February 2023.
Okay.
So I imagine what I did was edit it and just push save instead of save as.
Because ours says September 12th, 2022.
That's when we first presented information on the pros and cons, but at the very bottom, it says point unpassed after section 6.
So we'd have to remember, if you're gonna pass it, it says 2022 at the top, it'd be 2023.
No, that's just the day that I first shared with them that list of pros and cons that Lucas requested.
No, I mean, the
Same
resolution
change
number
resolution
itself
number.
would be a
Oh,
2023.
yeah, 2023. I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's fine. I'm gonna do it.
No, let me get my book.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'll do it.
I don't want to complicate things. I don't really, but I will tell you, in my mind, Mr. Hartman brought up a very good point. And I understand economy of scale, and I understand a lot of these different aspects. But he brought up a really good point that, you know, low bid is not always the best service.
And I don't think you have to, I mean, like Steve and I have been through the ordinances and CP. It didn't require that you accepted low bidder, I don't think.
I understood. I understand that too, but then by the same token, we have kind of some responsibility for that. And
I have it as 2023-04. Oh, I have it right.
Mr. Mayor, I move we table the subject of voting on the resolution to be reset. I move we table the consideration of the resolution until March 22nd. For just time for more consideration. And completely understand if nobody seconds and you think it's a stupid idea, but I personally need to think about it a little bit more honestly before I'd be willing to support moving forward. But there again, it's a democratic process, and that's just my opinion.
My concern is that if we push it that far off, what's the next step?
Well, that would just trigger, you would just have to publish, and that would start your, if you
Right.
passed it, that would start your process.
Which if we did it 2 weeks, it's going to be the same thing. Or so that's just my feel on it.
That's his motion.
That's a motion. And if it doesn't second, it dies. Obviously, the democratic process.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Motion carries.
So tabled, and which means it's placed back on the agenda for March 22nd.
And we have to republish.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'll need to make.
You'll have to have another public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, just so we know.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate the consideration on that. And
This is the most I've talked in a meeting in a long time.
no, that's good. That's good. I
Are you
appreciate
feeling a
your
little
talk.
hoarse?
I'm trying to be quiet, I promise.
We're paying per dollar, or per word, dollar per word.
Okay.
So it's good for you.
Moving on to item C, approved cereal malt beverage license for Crawford Hills Golf Course on premise for 2023.
Mr. Mayor, I motion that we approve the cereal malt beverage license for Crawford Hills Golf Course on premise for 2023.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item D, discuss forgiveness of $10,000 on account 35001-600 USD 248 due to overread on water meter.
Karen uploaded a file for you guys to review on, regular. And the school had a leak, and the way I understand, and Steve can probably explain it better, we pinpointed it to the wrong, incorrect meter. And,
So it's on us.
Not
not
entirely,
entirely,
but
but
we do
kind
have
of.
culpability to it.
Yeah, it's partly, I would say it's partly our fault. And to me, the way Steve figured up the bills, because he went off and did an average of prior to the leak, what their bills should have looked like without the leak, which they probably could have corrected a lot more quickly had we not pinpointed the wrong meter. So that's why I'm saying we have some culpability. Like, they have to fix their own leak, and we had a meeting with the superintendent, and he understands that. And it was myself and Steve B and the mayor. And we met with them, and like I said, these are the bills we used, or Steve used and calculated it, that we went off the average prior to the leak, and then whatever the overages above the average billings were, that's the part that we were discussed forgiving, and it was like 9,850 something, and we just rounded it to 10,000, and Blaze was fine with that, and at that meeting, they referred the superintendent to KRWA to have them come in and see if they could pinpoint their leak, and I believe that happened, right?
They have a pretty good idea where it's at this point, and the school knows that. I tried to contact Blaze today, he didn't answer my call.
He wasn't.
Yeah,
I tried as well.
but I will speak with Blaze. I brought KRWA in, they did leak detection on it, there's 290s that come out of the, I guess it'd be the newest end, it'd be the south end, the middle school. There's 290s that come out of there. He thinks from KRWA, he thinks that that's where it's at. The discussion that he had with Mr. Combs was that they should probably hydro excavate that to minimize damage to the area and go down and find it. So at this point, and this is the discussion that we had with the school as well. At this point, they know they've got a leak for sure. The problem was that there's about 5 meters that surround that school. And in the past, prior to me taking this department, there were no, there was no labeling on them. So you're chasing earths, and the earths have been changed. And so my guys were on the wrong meter. And so once we decided, and we got on the right meter and figured out where it was at, and we told them they then had a leak, Blaze had indicated to me, this is what we paid up to this point, and he asked if the city would forgive. So we stalled the paying on the bill until we could get caught up a little bit and then bring it to you guys for a decision. So it's not normally how we do things, but in my opinion, I feel like the city has an obligation. We've got culpability in it, so I feel like we have an obligation to do something right.
I appreciate your candor on that, and I appreciate your, owning a sense of responsibility for that. And
I agree, Steve. Do we still follow the correct steps as far as they fill out the form? Is that the same?
They'll have to fill out the form. So in terms of correct steps, they need to fix the leak. That's the first thing. Karen and I talked about that this morning. That's truly the first thing they need to get done is get that leak fixed. Because of the discussion that we had and our culpability to it, not knowing where that meter was for sure, now that we do know and they know they have a leak, we're all on fair ground now. So I told Mr. Bauer that at this point, whatever they're not fixing is going to be on them, but they need to get it fixed.
yeah. The metered amount going through there, any leaks on their side, so they'll pay future. You just want to clean up the
mess that
history
we're
of
partly
it.
responsible for.
When did the leak occur?
It's been going on. If Dee has that uploaded, you can see from December when the jump started, and they didn't notify us until it was around springish.
So December of 21?
Mm-hmm.
So they've had a leak for
a while, and it's not surfacing. That's the problem. And the reason why I think it's not surfacing is when we dug up Catalpa Street Mission, there was a box culvert underneath of that road, and it was just chock full of water and flowing like we had a leak. And they called us thinking that we had a leak up there on the main, and there was nothing because we were tapping that main to bring new services across to the east. And we checked that entire line, and there was nothing on our side, but it was still coming from the school's direction. I'm convinced that with all the stuff that's underneath that school that it's built on, that it's holding the water and it's moving it through and taking it to that drainage ditch where it's daylight, and so that's the reason why nobody's ever seen it.
Kind of an aha moment.
It's been hidden. But the meter was showing it, so when it started, the discussion began with, well, we think our meter's not right. Because that's typically what everybody does. I mean, even homeowners, when they call me, they say, our meter's not working right, there's no way. But a toilet, I mean, it was leaking 1.5 to 2 gallons of water a day was what it was doing at the school. And a toilet does the same thing, and you know, a lot of times you can't even see that. So we told him, we checked the meter, we told him there was nothing wrong with the meter, they were convinced there was. We looked at a lot of different options, but in the end, Canada Water doesn't normally do that for private people. It's normally something they reserve for municipalities, but they were willing to come down and do it for me. So
Are those meters the ones that can tell if there's a leak or they monitor?
they're all monitored, yeah.
Did that show up on the program that it suspected a leak? So our systems work as.
Yeah, our system's working fine.
Okay.
We need a motion then? Yes, you would. Any other questions?
Well,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm looking at it, but I mean, it's a school, so I understand there's an average, but did you go back more than a year to kind of find that average? Because the numbers in schools change, I mean, drastically.
I pulled clear back to 2020 and looked at all the average readings to get to the point where the spike began. And that's where I started, was in December.
When did they notify you though that
It
there's
was in the spring. I can't tell you exactly when.
So it was going a couple months before it was even our obligation to look into it.
Yeah.
When we do this for a resident, what's the resident end up paying when they fill out the form?
That's a Karen question.
Karen, how much, what's the
They'll
percentage?
pay their average. So if you have a 5,000 gallon average, you'll pay your 5,000 gallons, and then anything above and beyond that, they'll pay half, and city absorbs half.
So are we not suggesting that we do the 50-50 split? Especially if they didn't notify us for a few months. So say it was April, or do we have that obligation to?
That's entirely up to you as a council. The only reason I pitched what I pitched to you was because I felt like we had culpability in it.
Right, but our culpability would have started from the time they reported it and we went out to check.
Correct, and I don't know for sure exactly what month that was.
So, I mean, and you said spring, I mean, April to me, March, April is that time frame. So I would say at least after the March.
I think there's a little bit of miscommunication in the whole thing. So I didn't find out about it until just recently, even though the staff in the office did know, it wasn't passed along. And then when it came time to make the adjustment, I said, I cannot make that large of an adjustment because number one, it's over my authority. Number two, that's a council decision. So I think from the beginning to now, there's been a little miscommunication between the office staff and maybe some of the public works staff and some of the school. I think just in general, some people were talking to other people who were not talking to some people that got to the other people until we got to the snowball effect here.
So we kind of need to have
So I think
specific people to go to in case of these.
Yes, so I think we just need to get it.
Just turn to Karen and follow the adjustment policy, but like Karen said, this is a little bit of a different situation because they did come to us and we thought it was on us, and we led the school to believe that it was on us when it wasn't.
So I think we just need to start it at a level playing field and.
And moving forward, they're responsible
Right.
on their side.
And they're responsible from the date you informed them what the correction was.
Their last bill that they paid, that we're sitting on right now, the last time they paid was, I believe, they did not pay the September bill. I believe that's the one where the stuff stopped.
So they're liable from September forward.
So this is
their average
basically, this is a catch-up is what this is. my
I
understanding.
think they're due to pay.
Yeah, they
Correct.
argued like $300-something.
Yeah.
Correct.
So they,
So they're
if this
starting to pay
passes
this
this
month.
way, they would still owe this month.
Mr. Mayor, I move we move forward with forgiving $10,000 on account 35001 USD 248 as recommended by the Public Works Director. And the misquoting saying the city administrator, you share that, concur with that recommendation?
Yeah, I think we do have culpability in it, because if they would have known the leak was on them from the beginning, I assume the superintendent would have.
And then your recommendation would likely be different. Understood. I move we move forward based due to the forgiveness based upon the recommendation of the Public Works Director and City Administrator.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item E, executive session for non-elected personnel to discuss employee evaluation in consideration of promotion to street, wastewater foreman, and public works department, and CDL instructor candidate issues.
Yeah, the benefits issues with the paper.
Mr. Mayor, a motion that we go to executive session for non-elected personnel to discuss employee evaluations in consideration of a promotion to streets and wastewater foreman in the Public Works Department and the CDL instructor candidate benefit issues. Recommend 10-minute session to include the mayor, council, city attorney, city administrator, and city administrator apprentice.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Right over there.
Still up to date, what's the deal?
I'll go home and watch the rest of this on YouTube from your account.
Enjoy your grandbaby.
That way I can fast forward through executive session.
There you go.
Hello, guys. How are you?
I'm hungry. How are you?
For eating, huh?
It is.
I'm on a diet where I'm eating once a day and it's between 5 and 7. I'm
Oh,
a little behind.
is that intermittent fasting? Is that what they call it? Or not?
Yeah,
Is it?
and then I do like one day is a carb day where I can have carbs
Mhm.
within reason, and the next day fiber and protein.
What's that for you?
It has before, and then the holidays
Give them a little time to finish it. I had sat so long that when I got up to, to go get my foot.
You got one foot that's dead.
Oh, kill over there. So has the wind died down out there? Good. Still nice though?
Yeah,
I think I'll go walk in the morning. Really? Wow.
You got 68.
We did?
You
want to come back next to me, that's outside.
Okay, time's up.
Sorry for the dig, Billy. Well, what? All right, you make the motion.
Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Call the meeting back to work.
Mr. Mayor, I move we go into executive session for non-elected personnel to discuss employee evaluation, consideration for promotion to streets water foreman and public works department and the CDL instructor candidate benefits issue. 12-minute session to include the mayor, council, city attorney, city administrator, and city administrator apprentice.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
12 minutes.
See?
Well,
1, 2.
See,
That's
we
what I
messed you
thought.
up, didn't we?
No, I'm used to Lucas doing stuff like that.
I get it.
Oh, thanks.
All right, go ahead.
No, you already committed. Last week I forgot to unmute it at the very end.
Oh, I know. I didn't make it in the paper because I have no idea what to say.
It was just like, oh my God.
Well, I could have called and asked you or something. I just, by the time I write those, or,
Right.
I'm close to deadline.
I know.
I was just reading about that last night, as a matter of fact.
Smart dude, man.
I just read about it last night. He actually posted it, and they said it's not time yet. We can't, not the right time.
I bet in the country at that time, was not 5 men capable of doing the job that he did in the entire country.
Probably so.
10 seconds.
We're talking about Abraham Lincoln
Oh,
on our way back.
You're the only one left.
3, 2, 1. Okay, you're good.
Oh, yeah.
Call the meeting back to order.
Mr. Mayor, Jeff Leslie, Fourth Ward, I move we promote Austin Sprague to streets and wastewater foreman in the Public Works Department at a new salary of $21.50 per hour, retroactive to the beginning of the current pay period.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Mayor, I move we authorize Public Works Director Steve Brooks to extend a job offer to Robert Minor as CDL instructor, full-time position with a beginning salary of $20 per hour.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
There being no further regular business, we'll go on to governing body comments. Lanessa.
I was just inquiring on where all the paperwork is on the fire departments. If we've gotten anything worked out or anything written up for the fire departments.
It's on the iPad, isn't it? The draft agreement, updated
I
draft
must have
agreement.
missed it.
Yeah, we had a meeting with the district board, 2 of their board members, and I think at this time, they were more interested in us administratively taking care of like the budget and things, which I was fine with because we already do it, but they didn't think that their board could pass it. So I think at this time, we kind of just tabled it and we're gonna focus on training more together, see if we can get the 2 departments to work better together.
Yes, get their relationship between the 2 departments better.
Healed before we try to merge.
And you
So
would
that's
just
why,
continue to utilize the existing memorandum of mutual aid.
yes,
Member.
automatic.
Yeah.
And so that I think I uploaded for you guys in your informational, there's 3 applicants for the part-time administrative chief. So that chief would not be covering shifts. And that was one of the proposals you guys saw. And I can bring that all back.
I
up
just
at the
missed
next
it because it
meeting.
wasn't under any date. I've been looking for it. I just, right there in the thing. It's
So, do you want me to upload the proposals again so you can see the one for part-time administrative?
Is that one on there?
It's on there, but it's not on today.
I found them. They're under this open, under the.
And that's
Well, any
something,
more information you guys want, I can.
and then that's something you would bring back to us to start moving forward to.
Yeah, Nikki's already called some of the references for the 3 that are on there.
Yeah.
And the mayor and I were discussing it today and we thought we'd try to set up interviews next week.
I personally, this is personal, where are we? Am I appropriate for speaking to this?
That's what I can start.
Yeah, go ahead.
You want me to?
I love information.
Okay, thank you. I want to applaud, like, taking it that direction and working on improving in the relationship as opposed to codifying a new agreement when, it's a very sensitive subject. And I think, from my opinion, that's a very good decision. So thank you for yielding some time to me. I'll yield some back if you want.
You're fine, no.
Thank you.
I was just inquiring. I didn't see it under there because it wasn't where I was expecting it to be. So that was my fault.
That's probably my fault.
That's all right. Aside from the fire department, once again, we talked about the restaurant tonight, and it's not technically a restaurant, it's just a food bar, which I think was the confusion with Randy in here. But I would like to see that menu go back up, like go online, so that people can, use it, maybe look at it to order from, that kind of thing, call in orders. So that way we are using it to our advantage and allowing people to come by and swing by even if they're not golfing. Open it for everybody. Aside from that, I had one more thing and I cannot think of what it was. If I do, I'll come back to it. That's all now. I'll take it during Jeff's time. That's all.
Lucas?
I did have something with the fire too. I didn't want to intrude on your time, but I know it's open. Basically, I did talk to individuals that worked at a different fire station, and I didn't know how, I don't want to say the wrong word, but not unstructured, but it's just so much different. Fire is so much different than police and how they operate. And I don't want to say Wild West, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on between entities that are run by volunteers or just boards. And I spoke in length about it. I want to be informed when we make all these decisions. And like Jeff was saying, it's better to work with them. But also at this, to me personally, at this time, it almost seems like the county has more of a stake in it because they have a lot of districts that they work with. Even the cities, like I don't know if this is true or not, but I know Pittsburgh had individuals that they're having trouble with keeping their volunteers too, I believe.
It's everywhere.
And even Pittsburgh is an R1 city, but the difference is they have so much money for public safety because of the way they're structured that they can fund stuff. My better term, they can throw money at it to fix it. You know, we can't do that. Yeah, but we can't do that. You know, District 4, all the other Baker, all the other ones, they just can't throw money at it like that Pittsburgh can. So I would just hope that as we keep going forward, that we work with these other districts and honestly bring them all to the table, because the biggest, I guess, roadblock that I was seeing was everyone doesn't want to lose control, but they're all fighting the same fires. And that's lack of a better.
That's exactly what happened. There was disagreement over who would administer the payroll, do the budget, who would pass money which way.
Who's the chief?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
who's the chief.
It was almost,
Too many chiefs.
yeah, it was almost like who's going to be in charge, but they're all still responding or having mutual aid agreements to the same fire. And I found that so not odd, but just it's strange to me, because I feel like if I'm the commissioner of Crawford County, I don't care if the house is burning down. I want my fire protection to respond to it. And someone, if it's, you know, District 4, or Girard, or Baker, someone just needs to take control of it, and they can be, I guess more of a sense of working together. And I don't know how we can do that, how we can move forward. But, you know, talking with the other individuals that were from the other stations, everyone's open. It's just more about how can we get past that hump. So I don't know how to fix it, but I do think that there's resources available from all the different people involved, that maybe that's the next step. I know there's some concern with individuals that came to that one meeting that we had in the fire department, and those are good concerns, but it doesn't really move us toward a solution on how we're going to all work together. Because at that point in time, whenever they're talking about it, we weren't even doing some of our record keeping. And like I said that night, between Joe and Scott Dalton, and then Johnny, all three of those individuals could have done the record keeping, but we didn't do it, and that's why our ISO had the knock on it. Correct? That's a true statement. So that's something like that which we could have been doing, we weren't doing at the time. So
One thing I took from the meetings that I thought was the most beneficial, and I know the mayor and I both have had a discussion about this, and I think we're in agreement on it. These meetings were very beneficial, and the end result that was yielded, I feel like, was the best result that could be yielded. The parties that met in the last meeting, we all decided and discussed that the one thing that has to happen is this has to be restored, this brotherhood that used to exist between these two departments. You cannot put two departments that are at bay with each other together and expect that to work. It's oil and water. But I felt like we made really good strides. I mean, I'm sure the mayor, we talked about it. I'm sure he agrees. we make good strides in those meetings, and I think that's the thing right now that we have to focus on as a city and then as a fire district through the county, is to keep those talks going and to get the fire departments back to working together again before you can ever expect a merge to ever be fruitful.
Sure. And then that was the thing, because I don't want to speak for you guys, and I told the individual this, I said, the council is different, but I said, my opinion is Girard only wants to have a say in the process is because there's a lot of, because when you talk about volunteers, they can come and go, and you have trouble with trying to keep people, or maybe volunteering because they have other commitments in their life. But I don't think we really want to have control so much of what's going on, but we just want to know that, hey, if there's a fire in the town, that department, that group of individuals can fight a fire here, and they can help put the fire out. And if it just means that we have to supply a building and, well, upkeep the building, have a station there, and also have some board members that are able to talk about equipment training, that's really our goal. We're just trying to all fight the same fires and be part of that. Not, hey, we want to say we're going to dictate everything that you do. I don't think anyone on this board is like that. We don't want to dictate the fire department and say you have to do this. But we do want to be able to make it where it's going to work for everybody, because we're all struggling with the same thing. Volunteers, having people that are there to help fight the fires. So I just wanted to bring that up when that's in, and hopefully, I guess my point is, individuals out there are ready and they're willing to talk. So if we can keep doing it, and like Jeff said, we keep going forward on those, I think they're helping. Even though we hear some bad, not press, but just people are very vocal about it because it is close to their heart, I think the discussions are helping quite a bit. The other thing was, I didn't say it whenever Randy was here, but the golf course, having the food there, I've had a lot of feedback on that. It's amazing when the Chinese place closes down, how many people realize that. I don't think there's ever enough places to eat in Girard. I know East Side, you have East Side, you have Medina's, you have Highway Inn, you have Heroes now, you have the Black Pig, you have Sonic. So we have guys that go to Pittsburgh sometimes just because they want to get some food. So I've always thought that the golfers enjoy having that at the clubhouse, and also it gives people in town a place to go and get something too, if they want something a little bit different. And I know whenever we had restaurants in there, as far as I know, people were still going to eat. They might not have been as busy sometimes, but they still had people that would go in, and plus with the changes now, I like how clubhouse looks, and just the whole, we've made it, I guess, more welcoming in my mind in that regard. So I just want to say that I know that was his third question, is concerned about, what would do the businesses in town, but I think they'd still be just as busy. People are looking for places during lunchtime. You have the school, you have the hospital, you have several businesses. I know even, Crockhan's a bigger employee. The city has several workers, and if they don't go home to eat, they're going to try to find something around town. So
You see a lot of hospital people going to Pittsburgh and going to Cherokee.
Yeah, so I just wanted to let everyone know that is something that I get a lot of feedback about. The clubhouse having food is a good thing. Expanded menu is tougher because it's hard to make. It's hard to carry a big menu. I know that some of the restaurants, I think even Heroes at first ran to that too. He had a larger menu, and it's tough to do. But having a menu and keeping it consistent, I think works out well, at least for the clubhouse. And also, Steve, on the road work, where we had the detour going, as a lot of the work that's been done since then, was that more was that the water line? I know we had some bigger holes that were around, my street, for one, on Carbon, but also it seems on Catalpa too.
There is. Some of that is still from wear and tear from the trucks, big trucks, but some of it is from, we hate to use that L word, we keep using it tonight, it's just making me on edge. Water malfunctions is what we call them, but yeah, some of that is from that. We can't do anything hot mix wise yet, not just yet. So I had them today actually go around putting cold mix in, and my thought process on that is the 7 highway project would be the next project that I'll put forward to you guys, because that 7 needs addressed desperately. But the side roads need addressed as well, but we're also gonna be doing a lot of demolition when we do this water main project. And I can't see shoveling money in the roads and then turn around and tear them back up. So, I know there are people, they're all over Facebook, and I don't really care, but there's people that don't understand that I don't wanna put money into something that I'm gonna destroy. So, once we get Highway 7 done, we'll have another round of money that we'll start putting back. And Johanna and I have already talked about that, and I already actually have Austin doing that, setup for the interior project. And that'll probably be within the next year to 2 years, depending on, if we can hit some where we know there's not gonna be any water mains, we might try to hit some of those, but 7 highway desperately needs to get done.
Yeah, I know. And something too, I know that's good. I mean, that's always gonna be trying to be frugal, but if you're gonna tear it up, don't fix it, tear it back up again. Whenever, after we were done, and the weather too has been cold, wet, so it might be harder to do some of that stuff, but if there is stuff that you can do that won't be tore up, that's helpful in the sense that the citizens still know that we're working on it.
That's what we're looking at.
And I think, and they realize that, because most times when they talk to me about it, it's just more like they were ecstatic to have that road open back up.
Yeah.
I remember after that happened, people talking to me saying, the last back up looks good, and it does help improve, with the flow of traffic. But for that short time, all those trucks, and it got to work, and I told them, I said, yeah, we know that it's there, we will address it. So if there is some stuff that we can do that's not gonna be tore up again, that'd be great, which I don't know, it was one by the school, and that was holding a lot of water. Was that from the trucks, or is that just because?
That is from.
It's the one, not the one way, but.
You're talking about it, Osage and Catalpa, and it
Yes.
always holds water. We're looking at trying to do a mill on that, but I have to be very careful doing that, because once you break that asphalt, you're asking for trouble. That was done when we had done a fresh overlay project down on Ozark down here, and there were other individuals in charge at that time, and they took a mill in there trying to open that up because it was holding just a little bit of water, and now that section is destroyed, and that's exactly what happens, is when you break that seal, you allow that water to get down underneath that asphalt. So that deal down there, we're gonna have to do something with it. Either we're gonna have to go in and cut a swell in it to get it out and redo it in concrete. I haven't decided exactly what I wanna do with that yet, but it's on my eyesight. I just gotta figure out what to do with it.
And that's good. That's something I
It's
can.
not really pitched correctly is a lot of what the problem is.
Well, I think too, some of the bigger trucks turned down that.
They did. And the unfortunate thing is, I had a resident that stopped me a week ago and said, can you please get these trucks to stop making that turn? They're still doing it. So I haven't quite figured out why, but they're doing it. So
Yeah.
we mentioned it to the police chief and asked him, and I haven't heard any more from that particular individual since then, but, and we have started going around. We tried to get on it to begin with right after the project was done, fixing the corners where the trucks were rounding the corners and rutting up yards. One of my guys informed me this morning, because I told them if they hadn't got that done, I wanted it done, and he said, I actually did that on Thursday, and the ground's a little soft, so what they tried to do is kind of level it out with the heavy equipment, just to kind of flatten it out and get the ruts gone, and we're just gonna have to maintain it and watch it, get some seed in it, probably haul some dirt in it. It's gonna be a process, because then trucks do damage, lots of it. So, but that is 100% in the forefront of what we're looking at.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. And lastly, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to talk about the trash. I'm glad we had individuals come and talk at the public hearing, and the feedback they gave us. I like to hear that feedback. I love the process and how it works and how we're doing it this way. That way, there's public input the entire time. I would like to say though that the publicly right, why I said no on tabling it was because I feel like the process, we can still do it. And us council members individually can make an informed decision, and then at a later time, if it's not good for the city, go ahead and completely abandon the project. So at this point in time, that was the reason I voted no. I do feel like it's a good process to go through and move forward with it. And I hope next week we have more people show up. Philip's here, so I'm sure the paper will have it. So if we can have standing room only. And I know some of the same people will probably talk, and I love the passion. But I hope that the citizens know that we are listening to everybody's opinion, and it is valid. We do want to hear it, and this is the best way to do that with a process that takes us through all these steps and allows everyone to have input into the process. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Bill?
Along the lines of what Lucas talked about, the trash service, sometimes I get a little bit frustrated because it's, and I may have had these thoughts in the past, sometimes you think it's the citizens against council or vice versa, and it's not. There are people in here. I've lived in this town for 50 years. I want people to understand that I'm not going to vote for something that knowingly would hurt this city, because I've got as much invested as a lot of them, more than some of them. And, sometimes it's a little bit frustrating when they you get that mindset, well, you're just doing this to hurt us. And I'd like to convey that message that, no, we're not. Like you said, get all the input we can. At the end of the process, make an informed decision. It's good for everybody that's involved. But along your line, you've got some stuff scheduled for street maintenance for the spring. I know I brought it up before over here on Cherokee, just past the lumberyard corner there. There's evidently a base issue there or something, because there's some pretty good dips there. And I don't know what'll have to be done there. Maybe what we have to do is dig that out and then put base material in there, and then
Kind of talked to a couple of different asphalt contractors, a couple of different ways you can go about it. We can take it down and put base in, strengthen it up. You can also put geomesh in, and geomesh will bind into that clay and give you some stability underneath of it. That, whenever we did that Mono overlay project prior and that Cherokee piece was on there, that's actually 3 inches of asphalt, although you can't tell it. We put 3 inches down because I knew we had the truck traffic. And the unfortunate thing is the co-op's always going to exist there, and there's no good way to get trucks to it. So they come up Cherokee and they do pretty good through here, but when they hit past Forest all the way to Antelope, pretty much, it's just junk. And so that is one of the roads that's on my side road project list. And we've been Austin's going to measure everything out tomorrow, wheel everything, and get that finished up for me.
Well, to speak to your point, it does carry a lot. A lot of those trucks are carrying, they're grossing 80,000 pounds. So city streets aren't typically built for that kind of traffic. And and I understand what you're saying there. And like say, the co-op's a vital part of the town. So they're not going to move. So, we just have to find a way to deal with it and move around. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to apologize again for invading your time as far as talking about the fire department. I was reading the notes that Johanna put up for us, and it escaped my mind that we were in your time. So apologies. My thought on that, though, the point I was trying to make was, the issues of jurisdiction and command. There's a fire in a given place. Whose jurisdiction is it? Who's the most responsible? Who is in charge of that? The point I was trying to make is those issues could never be solved until trust is established, and I think that's the direction we're going. And it's the only logical way to go, in my opinion. Second off, with the trash thing, and then I got a part B to this. As far as the reason I felt and made the motion that we should table this for 2 meeting cycles was I couldn't review the motion, and I don't want to ever vote on a resolution that I can't do, like in my mind, the final review of. And as far as being responsible administratively for decades, one of the responsibilities that I put on myself was to do no damage. Okay. And if it means we take just a minute, we catch our breath. Yes, we're going to spend a few dollars on republishing, but we can think about this. We can look at specific documents before we were to adopt it. To me, that's better. That's sound public policy. The part B of that is in considering options. You know, it seems like we kind of get chewed a little bit. You know, when we bring up something, we're thinking about this, but that's our job. And it's difficult sometimes to listen to it, and there's accusations made and stuff, and people get excited, and I understand it. But here's the flip side, guys. If we're not doing that, if we're not being kind of questioned sometimes, the questioning, I agree, crystallizes our thinking, and it's a good thing. But if we're not considering all these different options, and if we're never getting questioned, well, why do you want to consider this? Well, then we're really not doing our job. You see what I mean? So I appreciate bringing ideas, even though it may cause a bit of an uproar. If it's better, we need to think about it. We adopt it or not. Just like Bill said, nobody's going to vote for anything that we intentionally know is against the best interest of the city. But as part of considering options, we're going to get our hind ends chewed sometime, and that's fine too. You know, that's part of the process. And I'm glad that people are here, and I'm glad that you still bring suggestions and different options of doing things. Even if it causes a little uproar, even if it makes it a difficult meeting, that's our job, and I appreciate it. Okay. Last thing, sitting in competition with local businesses. I know this is something, when I was new to the council, I think it was mowing, and something that Mayor Powell brought up, and I think the council is always very aware of this. And it was something as a new council member hadn't even really put on my agenda yet. I don't think we have, since I've been a council member, ever tried to put the city in position of competing with a local business. And I would applaud the mayor's leadership on that, because that's kind of a test we always put. And the snack bar at the golf course to me is a convenience, a benefit, and a revenue creator that is, in my opinion, in no way competition with our other local businesses. So that being said, Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time, and that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. Well, I've got to make a comment that I'm kind of glad that people came in and made their comments on the reference to the trash ordinance and stuff. It gave us some good information that we need to kind of consider. And I think that input is good. We'll probably get more in 2 weeks, 4 weeks probably. But I think probably what we need to do at the next public hearing, listen to the people and maybe not comment, just listen, note what they have to say, and keep that in consideration. I think when we get involved in them and stuff, it's more or less like a debate, which we don't have at this time. We're not at the point where we need to debate. I know myself, next time we have this, I'm going to listen. There may be comments I want to make, but I think I'm going to withhold the comments and stuff for the appropriate time, like when we have a public hearing, if we go forward with it. And another thing, Clifford, how's the building coming?
Slowly.
How far are we away from ribbon cutting?
I'm saying probably a month.
A month, okay.
I'm hoping.
Let the weather get better and stuff. I know I've had one person from news media call me and ask me about, about an article on it and stuff when we get the building ready to go. And I've been out there myself, and I can see that things are looking good. And I think we're got to the point to where I think in all the public works too, I think we're getting things headed in the right direction. It's just a matter, it takes time. We need to get some things resolved, and we're getting that done. So I think in that and any other department in the city, we're moving forward. I want to thank everybody for what they do. That's all I have.
Mr. Mayor, a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
That's a good point, Nick.
Stop that right now.
Did you nail it?
get that, Karen?
Hey, if I had gone.
Did you get that?
That's it too, right? They make it try.
But then you'd have to revote. No, Mickey would have to vote,
Mayor
yeah.
Pop, Mayor Pop, it's a really good point about the next time we do that, forum on that.
Yeah, I think